Hi everyone, it's Noelia with My Moxie Dreams. Thanks for joining me today. Today's video is going to be the last plan with me for the month of August. Can you believe this, you guys? I'm like protesting this entire year, like no joke. This year has been insane in the membrane, you all. It is just too much, but here we are. I am going to do this video, which is the end of August, and then I will be setting up, hopefully today, doing the video of my September setup. I found a photo, let's jump in here, shall we? I found a photo that is very much summer, and I know that summer ends, I think. Doesn't summer end this week, or it ended? I don't know, but, oh shoot. What did I do? I forgot to write stuff down. Family, movie. I'm not gonna do this right now. Heat. We watched Heat last night. It was so good. Laundry was my priority yesterday. And everybody was feeling sick. It was weird. Okay, let's get into today. Here is our 991, and let's just get this going so that we can get it done and in the books. I'm having a little bit of a hard time here. What haven't I told you? Oh, I have to tell you, last video, I think I told you guys about the swarm that I was attacked by of yellow jackets in Tahoe. The part 2 of the Tahoe trip, part 2/3, was Friday night. Everybody arrived, and we had, my boss had moved his pizza oven from Saucebox to his Tahoe home. And so he had told me, he's like, hey, like the pizza oven is there and you guys should make pizzas. It's super easy, super fun. So I talked to the housekeeper, Wendy, and asked her like, hey, how easy is it? Can you kind of give me a run through? She's like, yeah, it's super easy. Just get this from here and this is what you need to do. So she gave me pretty much all the instructions. And so Chris and I watched plenty of TikTok videos, and again, Wendy gave me, she's like, I do it, it's super easy. Like, so our thought process was that everybody was gonna get there about 3 or 4-ish on Friday. We got there obviously the day before because I got stung by all the yellow jackets. If you didn't hear that story, go to last week's reset, or last week's plan with me rather. And so everybody was gonna get there Friday. So Chris and I got all the toppings, we got the dough, we got everything to make, oh no, what happened there? Everything to have pizzas, like artichokes, jalapenos, prosciutto, like we had everything, okay? And we thought the kids are gonna have a blast because, you know, you get to make your own pizza, you're in the kitchen. So we got the, Wendy had told us that we need to do it a couple of hours, put the firewood in a couple of hours before. There was one paddle. And I had seen online on all the videos that you have to, like, once that you've stretched out the pizza dough, you have to do it fairly quickly. Like, you have to hurry up and put the things so that it will slide off the paddle really easy into the pizza oven. So I knew this. And I thought Christopher knew it, but at any rate, people started making, first we put the wood in, and there's a thermometer, there's like a thermometer meter, whatever, thermostat on the outside of the pizza oven, and that tells you what the temperature is inside. Now, Wendy had said, don't go over 500, like 500 is a perfect spot. Well, the temperature kept saying like 125, and we're like, what the hell is happening? And we kept putting wood, and then I realized the thermometer thingy wasn't working, and I'm like, crapola. We found the thermostat gun, and this thing was like at 1,000 degrees. So we were like, shit, now we have to like open the door, get it to calm down and drop. So as this is happening, I'm setting out all the items to put on your pizza so that people can kind of just decide. It had to be one person at a time, or it was one couple at a time was creating their pizzas and doing it that way. So we start the first one and put it in, slid off perfectly, and it burned because it was too hot. And we were just learning, right? We had a tester. I think that's what we called it. The first run, the first two were kind of testers. And we're like, okay, we thought we got the hang of it, which we're like, okay, we know where to put the pizza. We knew to keep it like turning. Seemed good enough. However, as couples were coming and the kids were coming to make their pizzas, they were taking forever to decide what to put on it. So it would be 5 or 6 minutes of the dough being on the paddle. And by the time he would take it to go slide it, it would stick. And you'd have all the toppings flying off of the dough. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. And I think I've chatted with you guys about one of the reasons why Chris hasn't wanted to go to Tahoe for his birthday the last couple of years is because he feels like he wants to have those experiences with his little godchildren, but at the same time, he feels like it's my birthday and I'm hosting and I'm not getting to relax or enjoy. That's how he feels. He's like, and I don't want you, Mom, being like the maid or the housekeeper and the chef, that you're like keeping everybody happy. I'm like, but that's what I like to do. Like, it doesn't bother me to do that stuff. And so already I know that Friday I can see Christopher is stressed out. This is exactly what he was talking about not wanting to happen. But I knew what the solution was, and he wouldn't let me take over. He was like, I'm doing this, like, Mom, go chill. And I'm like, you go chill. Like, you go hang out with your friends and let me do it. For like an hour, everybody's pizza either was raw, the dough was raw, and it was a nightmare. We will never do that again. However, once everybody was like, had their little mini pizzas and they were eating, nobody was complaining. Everybody was having a good time, but me and Chris were stressed because it wasn't coming out the way it should. And Chris has anxiety. So if it's not coming out, he stresses out. I'm a solver. Let's solve the problem. So finally he's like, okay, everybody has their pizzas. He finally went to make his, and it was a disaster. I felt so bad for him. And mind you, when we had gone to the grocery earlier or the day before, I wanted to have a backup plan. It's just who I am. He did not want to have a backup plan. And I was like so frustrated with him. And normally I don't listen, but he was being so like a brat about it that I was like, fine, we don't have a backup plan. Like if the pizzas don't work out, we'll just have to order from the restaurant on the ski resort. Did I do that? Yeah. And so finally he walks away from the pizza oven, and I'm just like, okay, we had spent 2 hours trying to get, pizzas to work, and they would either burn or be not cook long enough. It was a freaking nightmare. So he walks away to go hang out with his friends. They're all at the dining table with the kids, and the kids are having a blast. They don't know any different. And everybody's like, we're going to eat the parts that aren't burnt, or they didn't care. Everybody was having a good time, but Chris and I were stressed. So as soon as he goes to hang out with his friends, I start doing the last 5 pizza doughs. And I just was like, boom, boom, boom. In less than 20 minutes, I had done 4 pizzas, because I was putting the toppings on within a minute of putting the dough on the paddle. Does that make sense? Again, we've never made freaking pizza oven pizzas. Like, Jaden's a pizza family. Oh no, no, no. Oh no. Okay, that's just gonna be what it is, Noelia. And I was just like, and he kind of looked at me like, how are you doing this? Like, how are they coming out perfect? And I'm looking at him like, if you would have just let me do it in the beginning, right? Like, if people would have just written down what they wanted on their pizzas, I could have done this quickly. But he's his mother's child. He has to have control, and not having control makes him feel out of control. And so he saw, like, in 15 minutes, I made 4 pizzas, and they were perfectly made pizzas because I had known that you kind of had to hurry up with the toppings. Otherwise, it just would get stuck to the paddle. So anyways, that was that. So that was Friday night, and boy, was that stressful. Thankfully, it was done. The next day, they were going to go to the lake, and it was a beautiful day. It was super hot, and so we knew there was going to be a lot of people. Now, just a side note, at this location, they have everything. I think I mentioned this last time. They have all kinds of water toys out there, and oftentimes, because we are avid kayakers, we have our own life jackets and we have our own paddles. And I always take those with us when we go to Tahoe, because we are on the private lake, and sometimes people have the paddles, and sometimes there's, for whatever reason, not enough paddles for all the water toys. So I always bring my paddles, and my paddles have my last name on the actual flat part of the paddle. So the kids left at about 11:30. They scored 2 picnic tables, and there was a bunch of people there, more so teenagers than adults. There was a young woman, but she was in probably her, early 40s, with her 2 little kids, and she was chatting up Christopher and all his friends, and they were just, having a good time. And mind you, Christopher and his friends are clearly Mexican. I am white passing. I've always looked like a white girl. My kids, all of them, and Christopher's friends look Mexican. They are brown-skinned, proud, gorgeous kids, all of them. And everybody was on the water except for Roberto and his wife. And all of a sudden, this lady comes to the picnic table that they were at, and she just grabs the paddles. I think one of the paddles. And Roberto's super sweet, super nice. And he says, "Oh, ma'am, excuse me. Those are our paddles." And she was an older woman in her probably mid-60s. And she's like, "Well, there's no paddles." And he's like, I totally get it, but I just wanted you to know, like, if you look at those paddles, they have my buddy's name on them. And she's like, "Well, and she just starts to be super rude. And Roberto's like, "Listen, I totally get it. That's why we bring our own, because, we've had that experience where, there wasn't any paddles. And so that's why we brought ours." And he couldn't ask Chris, like, "Hey, can she take it?" And she was refusing to listen. She was like being really disrespectful to Roberto, and she starts heading out to the water. And the lady with the 2 kids in her mid-40s, who had been talking to all of my kids in the group, she gets up, and because the lady was being rude, and she gets up, she's like, "You're being really rude. Though, did you hear him? Those are not the community paddles. Those are his family's paddles." And she was like, "Well," she starts asking Roberto, like the older lady, she's like, "Are you even a homeowner? Why are you even here? You're brown." And Roberto didn't know what to do. He was like, "What?" And I had warned everybody, right? And I hate the fact that I have to warn my kids and all of Christopher's friends, like, "Hey, we're in Truckee area. This is a very different area than Napa. People are not as open-minded. This is tea territory. If you know, you know. I said, so in the event that you get confronted by a Karen or a Chad, let me, contact me. And I did not go out to the water because I was dealing with a work emergency. And so I didn't go out to the water. So Roberto didn't know what to do, but the other lady came kind of to the rescue, and she starts to confront that lady. And she's like, you're being extremely rude. Like, he told you that those don't belong to the community. And the lady's like, well, he doesn't belong here. He's brown, and I'm sure he's not a homeowner. And then the nice mid-40s lady went off on her. And Roberto says he kind of walked away. Him and his wife didn't know what to do. They were like panicking. And everybody was on the water. Chris, who's the main person, was on the water. And he's like, I didn't know what to do. And finally, the lady throws the paddle back at Roberto, and she walks off. And as she's walking off, the lady who came to the rescue was like, bye, Karen. Which happens to be funny because Roberto's wife's name is Karen. But the lady took off, and she was pissed. And I knew that she was probably going to go... she was probably going to go make a scene with the village services. But before that could happen, Christopher texted me as soon as he got back from the water off of the lake, and Roberto told him everything that had happened. I'm trying to look at my thing here, guys. Let me see. Monthly. I just want to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. And Roberto told him, like, hey, this is what happened. And so Chris texted me immediately, and sorry, I'm just like doing all this stuff. I was in the garden. And then what time is it right now? YouTube's. What's the temperature? 85.56, 85.56, and it's sunny. So that's what happened. So immediately they came back, and I called my boss, and I'm like, look, this is what happened. He was pissed. He's like, and I had told the kids, there's a code that if somebody questions you, you say this code, this name, or this kind of reference to your home. It's a code. And if you give that code, people will immediately know, like, oh, okay, they're here. They're approved people, or not necessarily approved, but they're here with homeowners. They're the homeowner's guests, because you wouldn't know that code. Every house has its own code. So when I talked to my boss, he's like, did you get her code? Did she mention what her code was? Can you describe her? I'm like, no, and he was pissed. My boss was pissed. He's like, call concierge, find out if anybody complained. We want to know. He's like, what's the name of the lady who came to the rescue? Let's send her a case of wine. I'm like, we don't know. We just know that this happened. And so he was pretty upset. He wanted to, reward the girl who was helping my kids and their guests. And so that was the whole, I just realized I set up my budget, but I forgot to do the bill pay. I just realized that right now. So I gotta do bill pay right now. Set up budget and do bill pay. So they came back, and they were kind of laughing, like, wow, you warned us that this was T-Town and to be careful with Karens and Chads, but they had never experienced it. And so they were laughing, but at the same time, it was just like, this is so sad that this is how we live in this kind of environment where it's okay for people to say this. And if you guys follow me on Instagram, you know that this past week, last week, I think it was Thursday or Friday, I had a similar instance happen, not to me, but to somebody else. And it's just so disheartening, people. So, and it ended up being Saturday, with the exception of that incident, they had a blast. They'd been at the lake from 11:30 until 6 p.m. And then rather than have any kind of stress about dinner. We just had a bunch of takeout brought in and everybody just had a blast. I think they stayed up until 3 in the morning, you guys. I went to bed. I was like, hey, everyone, I'd worked all day Saturday and I'm like, I'm ready to go to sleep. I do not want anything else going on. Okay, budget review. Saturday. Why do I feel like something's happening Saturday? I don't know, but I do know I need to edit. I'm going to have so many videos to edit and I have to upload. All right. Okay, guys. I think also what I need to do is put stickers. There's some days that I forgot in last week. We'll probably put stickers in another video. All right, that's it. Our last week of August is in the books. I will be doing our September theme. She's very summery despite the fact that we're getting into September, but it is what it is. I love her and I love the stickers and I'm going to be enjoying her for September. But goodbye, August. Wasn't she gorgeous? August was just beauteous. She's absolutely beauteous. Okay, that's it. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed my crazy story today, and I hope that you guys have a good start to your week. Again, if you are new here and you enjoy this kind of content, I would love it if you would like and subscribe to my channel. For everybody else, I will see you next time. Bye.